Puella Magi Madoka Magica, the 2011 show from Studio Shaft, Aniplex, and Nitro Plus. Without a doubt, this series is something that needs very little introduction. It was one of the biggest hits of the year 2011, and it's still the most talked about. It's already spawned 3 films, several manga spin-offs, and supposedly even another anime series is in the works. There's not much more I can say about the show that probably hasn't already been said. It is, without a doubt, a subversive magical girl show. It's arguably a deconstruction of magical girl shows. And of course, this show gets very dark and emotional. If you're an old softie like me, expect the tears to be flowing quite a bit. And by now, I'm sure everybody's formed their own opinion on it. So, here's mine. Big reason I jumped into the series right away was because Yuki Kaijuro was attached to it. And I do like some magical girl shows, but I'm not really a die-hard fan. Many can kind of get generic and played out, so I would have been content to simply wait this one out and sample it later, preferably with a dub. Getting Uraboji's name attached didn't really raise any red flags for me either. I only really knew him as the guy who originally wrote the story to Phantom Requiem for the Phantom, and a few episodes of the series under Yosuke Kuroda's supervision, but not for his seemingly notorious reputation of writing very dark and somber storylines. Besides that, the trailers certainly gave no indication that this would be anything particularly new and exciting. I kind of knew Akiyuki Shinbo from the Cosette OVA, and I knew he had a flair for being something of an auteur and artsy director, so I figured maybe this would be a show with some unique animation and some really good music. The series started out pretty typical and expected. It had prophetic dreams and a mysterious transfer student with strange fascination for our title character. I was kind of laughing, though, for it, but for a good reason. It felt like it was actually paying homage to some of those traits, especially some that I remember from Cardcaptor Sakura. It all changed, of course, by the next half of the series. Mommy's death, of course, was shocking, but I really expected her to come back in some way. When she didn't, though, I could tell that this was going to be something much different. The series continued on, only to get darker and more subversive. It kind of reminds me of Chrono Crusade or Evangelion in that way, starting out as pretty typical action-adventure series, then suddenly getting much darker. The 8th and 10th episodes were perhaps what really sealed this as a big favorite for me. For starters, the descent of Sayaka into madness, and the revelations of Homura's backstory, having to time and time again watch her friends die and unable to save the ones she cared about the most. Madoka is actually a very interesting character, as it isn't until the end that she makes her wish and becomes a magical girl, at least in the story's present timeline. Being the title character and the front of the group on all promotional posters, and being all over the main theme, you of course naturally expect her to be the main character and the most reactionary character, but the way it actually plays out is more that the events of the series revolve around her. You might say Madoka is inactive, and doesn't play much of a role, considering Sayaka, Mami, Homura, and Kyoko are all magical girls, and all fighting witches, and all preparing to fight while Purg is not. You might even say she's really just a red herring to the story that's really about Homura, and in some ways you probably would be right. But the way Madoka is the main character, despite her indecision, is the fact that she is truly the catalyst of the plot. Madoka begs Homura to save her, which begins the resetting of the timeline. When we get into this current present timeline, from the start of the first episode, it's through Madoka's discovery of Kyubey, thanks to Homura again, that she and Sayaka learn of magical girls and witches, and it's also there that they meet Mami. In the 3rd episode, she discovers the grief seed to Charlotte's dimension, where Mami's eventually killed. Sayaka, of course, becomes a magical girl, and it's Madoka who foolishly throws Sayaka's soul gem over the bridge, giving revelation that their souls and bodies are no longer together, which starts giving Sayaka very conflicting feelings. As Sayaka continues to fall into despair, she even expresses frustration over Madoka's unwillingness to become a magical girl, and making Sayaka fight all the battles for her. And in part, Sayaka's regret over hurting Madoka is what helps push her into a final witch form. In the end, of course, Madoka does step up and decides She's seen enough of her friends suffer and becomes Gattaca. Dubbing-wise, I knew this was going to be a series that would be very hard-pressed to match the quality of the Japanese cast. For the most part, I do feel I'm right. The dub isn't a bad one, but seems to waver from mediocre to really excellent. For sub over dub preferences, go with the sub. For general anime fans, the dub should suit you fine. It's usually the early episodes that are really the most shaky, but surprisingly, it's actually the later ones where most of the emotional content comes out is some of the best performances that come out from all of the cast members. Without a doubt, the most solid of the cast members is Christina V. At risk of being unoriginal, Homura is really my favorite character of the series, and for her voice I was hoping for a veteran such as Michelle Ruff, someone who I know to have incredible range for characters, from people such as Chikane and Kanazuki no Miko, to Mai Minase in Dot Hack Liminality, or even Yoko in Gurren Lagann. But wow! Christina V plays Homura with such conviction and such poise through the entire series. I was stunned. From her cold and callous Homura...
You're sharp. Yes, you're right about me. I don't give a damn if you live or die. I don't care.
To her desperate and hopeless state...
I'll come back again and again and again! I'll save you! I swear!
To her sweet and kind and gentle state.
We're gonna work together from now on!
She's truly the best of all the cast members. Of course, the music is very good. I wouldn't put it as Yuki Kajiura's very best, as some other critics have praised it. I still personally think there are far better ones out there, but this is still a good and worthwhile soundtrack. I was pretty unimpressed with Fate Zero and Sword Art Online, so of the three major Sony Aniplex works she's done over the last 3 years, this one definitely ranks the top. While the opening is insanely popular, I really just don't like it. The melody is too bubbly. It becomes too disconnected with the rest of the series' darker tone. I'm sure the lyrics are a pretty good mirror to the plot, but I rarely read the translations to a Japanese song, because they just never really match or flow that well. I just usually enjoy a song as is, and that's the issue with Connect. For a standard magical girl show, it'd be fine. But for me, it seems very out of place, so I never got why this song always seemed more popular than Magia. Being a popular show, it's really hard for me to really recommend it, unless you've never heard of it before. By now, I suspect those who've wanted to seen it will have seen it, and those who don't really won't bother. It's a big series, and thus it becomes pretty easy to draw a line in the sand if you find the hype was or wasn't worth it. If you want my own opinion, it truly was the best of 2011, and will likely go down as one of the best of the decade come 2020. It will go down as another personal favorite of mine. And the matters of if this show is a legitimate deconstruction or just a subversive show, well, that could easily be a topic for a whole other video, so let's just leave it at maybe it just walks such a fine line that it all comes down to interpretation. So that's Puella Magi Madoka and... So that's Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Who is doing? Cube? What are you doing in my computer?
I know how you can get more views on your channel.
Oh really? You're gonna tell me how I can get some more views on my channel?
If you'll make a contract with me and become a magical girl.
But I'm a boy. I can't become a magical girl. I don't think. I mean, unless you mean... Well, I don't swing that way, Cube. I just don't. It's just not for me. It's not the thing for me to do.
Okay, I'll make you a magical boy then.
Magical boy, huh? Well... How bad can it be? I mean, it's only the magical girls that suffer and fall into witches, right? How bad can it be for me to become a magical boy? If it gets me more views, what the hell? I'll fight some witches for you. Yeah, bring it on, you white little bastard. Go ahead, make me a magical boy. I'm ShadowBlazer3000, signing off.